You've been feeling something that logic can't explain, something that defies maps, time zones, and the very distance between your body and someone else's. Stop right now. What you're carrying isn't a daydream, and it isn't just longing. It's a frequency that's been tuned in, and right now, in this exact moment, it's operating on a layer far deeper than your conscious mind can track. You didn't come here by accident. I'm here because something inside you was awakened, a spark that distance can't put out, because what was joined by a force greater than you doesn't recognize the borders that men drew on maps. In this conversation, you're going to understand why this connection rose up like a silent storm in your daily life. You're going to recognize the nature of this bond, which isn't about possession or physical presence, but about a resonance of souls that already knew each other before you were born. Before we're done, I'm going to show you the reason you were chosen to carry this feeling and why distance is actually the soil where this purpose is being planted. Stay with me, because every word here was woven to confirm what your spirit has already whispered to you during the quiet hours of the night. You've been noticing signs that seem tailored to your journey. Maybe they're dreams that feel more real than waking life, where you sense a presence so tangible that when you open your eyes, the emptiness of your room hurts like a cut. Maybe you've started hearing someone's name in random places, in songs that play on the radio, or in the conversations of strangers passing you on the street. You look at the clock and see repeating numbers, and though most people would call it coincidence, deep down you know there's no such thing as coincidence for someone who's being guided. You've been living through moments of intuition so sharp that sometimes you anticipate what the other person is going to say or what they're going through, even when you're thousands of miles apart. That tightness in your chest, that sudden urge to send a message that you quickly delete, isn't anxiety. It's your spiritual system recognizing that the connection is active, that the thread linking you is stretched, taut, and vibrating at a frequency only the two of you can hear. Your fingers, as you type those 3 digits, are your spirit saying yes to the truth. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real. And it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now, before doubt steals another year from your calling. Truth you've been trying so hard to hide. 888 is the frequency of spiritual abundance, the symbol that what has been sent to you is not limited by time or space. It's your seal of readiness, the confirmation that you accept the delivery of this bond. Type 888 now, and then come straight back to me. This frequency you've just anchored is the first step in understanding why distance is actually a protection. You might think physical absence is an obstacle, but what you're living through is a school of spiritual maturity. Distance keeps the ego from interfering with what the soul has already joined. When 2 people are close, the noise, the habits, the human expectations often smother the divine connection. But when there's an ocean or a continent between you, the connection is purified. It becomes an exercise in faith. You aren't being deprived of someone. You're being prepared to honor a meeting that isn't based on physical attraction, but on an alignment of purposes that the universe arranged before time began counting. You are the one chosen to carry this feeling, not because it's easy, but because your ability to sustain this energy is rare. The distance is the filter that ensures that when the union happens in the visible realm, it will be unshakable, because it will have been built on the rock of the soul, not on the sand of time. By now, you're beginning to realize that this person didn't show up to complete your life, but to mirror the light you already carry, the light you've often ignored because you were afraid you were too much or too intense. What you feel is not a mistake, and it's not a detour. It's a summons. You are being called to a new way of loving, a way that doesn't require the other person to always be within your sight, because they already live in your energy field, and you live in theirs, in a continuous exchange that transcends any map. And it's here, at this turning point, that the real revelation starts to take shape, showing you what lies beneath all this restlessness. You've been operating under a pattern that, while exhausting, is proof of your faithfulness to what was assigned. For a long time, you believed that time and distance were enemies of your purpose, that for something to be real, it had to be tangible, touchable, constantly present in your physical space. That's the pattern of the linear world, where what can't be touched doesn't exist. But look closely at your own walk. You've been insisting on trying to force open a door that wasn't yet meant to open, not because you don't deserve it, but because time is the tool that polishes this encounter. Distance is not an obstacle to what is eternal. It's actually the protection of the purity of this bond. When you ask yourself why everything feels so heavy, why the wait seems so long, you're forgetting that what's being built between you isn't a wooden structure, but a temple of light. The pattern of trying to rush destiny, of trying to force the physical presence, is just your human side, trying to secure something your spirit already knows is guaranteed. Now imagine with the eyes of your soul a thread of pure light that crosses continents, oceans, and the very thickness of time. This thread isn't a rope that binds, it's a channel that conducts. It's invisible to eyes that only look for the body, but impossible to ignore for those who feel with their chest. This thread holds a necessary tension. If it were loose, there would be no purpose. If it broke, the mission would be over. But it stays taut, vibrating at a frequency that only you and this person can tune into. Every time you feel a longing that doesn't seem to come from a shared memory, that's the pulse of this thread. Every time an idea, a desire, or a sudden peace invades your silence, it's the other end of this thread, sending a signal that the alignment is holding. The tension of this thread is what keeps your consciousness awake to the importance of what's coming. It's not meant to cause you suffering, but to guarantee that when the moment of union arrives, you'll both be perfectly calibrated to the same note, the same tone, the same truth. Breathe deeply and feel this connection right now. Let this declaration plant your feet firmly in the present, making it official before your own being that distance is not separation, but a form of union. Type these 3 words with the awareness of someone assuming their post, and then come back to me, because there is still more to be revealed about how this choice operates in your life. By understanding that this thread sustains your journey, you realize that being chosen isn't an invitation to effort, but a summons to surrender. You spent years trying to be, trying to do, trying to build, believing that the intensity of your work would guarantee the result. But being chosen is about permission. It's about lowering your guard and accepting that the heavy lifting was already done by the universe before you were even born. The weight you carry isn't a burden, it's just the resistance you impose on your own flow. When you allow yourself to be, when you stop trying to control the route and trust the direction this invisible thread points to, the anguish of distance disappears. It's replaced by an unshakable certainty that everything is exactly where it should be. You don't need to physically move to reach where you already dwell. What you're looking for is already moving toward you with the same precision and the same fervor. Being chosen means you were selected to carry this light, to be the guardian of this frequency while the meeting manifests in the material world. It's not about what you'll do tomorrow, it's about how you inhabit the now, recognizing that every beat of your heart, every directed thought, is part of the architecture of this encounter that time cannot destroy. Your surrender is the key that unlocks the door you've been trying to force, because what is meant for you doesn't require effort to stay. It simply blooms where the seed was planted in eternity. If anything we've brought here has touched the core of your truth, if you recognize that physical distance is just a detail compared to the magnitude of what's being woven in the invisible, let your like be your wordless amen. Don't see it as a number or a social media metric. See it as a silent seal, a sacred agreement that the revelation that reached your spirit was received with integrity. It's your way of telling the universe that you're paying attention, that you recognize the frequency, and that you're ready for what comes next. This simple gesture is a deep validation that what was named here found an echo in you, solidifying this truth so it doesn't get lost in the noise of ordinary days. As you feel this movement inside you, it's impossible not to notice that certain faces start rising in your mind. There is someone in your path who desperately needs to hear exactly what we're talking about here today. Think of that person who has been carrying a heavy silence, someone who works with tireless dedication but looks at the doors that won't open and wonders if they've been forgotten. Think of that person who has a sharp sensitivity but feels out of place in a world that doesn't seem to understand the depth they carry in their chest. Their face came to your mind as a summons. Send this message to them right now, not as casual advice or a content recommendation, but as a timely delivery. You are serving as the channel for this truth to reach a place where hope was beginning to wither. It's an act of care, a silent ministry you perform by extending this invisible hand to someone who needs an anchor. Now, before we move toward closing this cycle, I want you to take a breath and prepare to anchor your position. You are not here by accident, nor by a random sequence of clicks. You were brought to this awareness because your soul demanded the recognition of your place in this story. In the silence of your heart, I want you to write or simply visualize the phrase, "I am chosen." Don't say it as a wish, not as a distant hope you're waiting to see come true. Say it as an absolute statement, as a seal of authority over your own journey. The one who loves, who waits, and who prepares the way has already recognized your name. You are the target of this devotion, the object of a purpose that crosses time and ignores the miles that separate desire from reality. By affirming your choice, you stop being a passenger of luck and become an active participant in your own revelation. You are seen, you are kept, you are joined to the purpose that before it was understood was already your destiny. You are seen in your constancy, in your waiting, in your courage to keep seeking even when signs seem scarce. You are kept by the invisible thread that, though it seems stretched by distance, never breaks, because it's held by the hand of the one who designed your meeting. You are joined irrevocably to what was prepared for you before the foundation of your own consciousness. No void can undo it, no time can erode it, and no human error can stop the course of this river that runs inevitably toward the ocean, where you will finally rest in the certainty that everything, absolutely everything, was strategically placed in its proper order. In this exact moment, as you anchor your position and take on the role that has been given to you, there is a silent frequency vibrating in thousands of other hearts scattered across the entire planet. You are not an isolated point in a vast, indifferent geography. You are a central node in a network of souls who are simultaneously awakening to the truth that distance was never an obstacle to purpose, but a polishing tool. They also felt the call you felt, They also carried the weight of a question no one else could hear. They also went through nights of restlessness and mornings of sudden clarity, when the inner voice finally became loud enough to overpower the noise of the outside world. This movement is silent for a fundamental reason. It doesn't need fanfare. It doesn't seek external validation, and it isn't sustained by the approval of crowds. It grows in the half-light, in the hours when the world sleeps and you remain watchful, cultivating the patience of those who understand that what is eternal is in no hurry. All around the globe, hundreds of people are right now, just like you, setting aside despair and embracing the calm of those who know the outcome has already been written. There is a global resonance happening, a symphony that can only be heard by those who have chosen to silence their own fears. When you recognize yourself as someone chosen, you instantly connect to this invisible current, becoming part of a spiritual fabric that sustains the hope of many who at this very moment are ready to give up. Your perseverance is their oxygen. Your conviction is the light that illuminates the dark hallway where they stand. Don't be fooled by the absence of noise or the lack of physical evidence you still wish to see manifested. The fact that you are here, hearing these words and feeling this vibration in your chest, is the definitive proof that the process hasn't stopped. It has only changed form. It has moved from the realm of trial and error into the domain of absolute certainty. What is happening to you is part of a collective awakening where geographical distances, time barriers and blockages that seemed insurmountable are dissolving one by one under the force of a dedication that knows no limits. The commitment that was made for you, with you, and through you is a commitment that crosses oceans and ignores time zones. It is omnipresent because its origin is not human. And that is why your surrender cannot be frustrated by anything that belongs to this passing world. When you look around, realize that your loneliness was never actually isolation. It was only the preparation so that you could learn to hear your own compass without the interference of other people's opinions. Many others are going through this same training, learning to trust the invisible, to value what is internal, and to build their reality on the rock of their own essence. You are a lineage of seekers who decided not to settle for the shallow, who chose to dive into what is deep, even if that meant swimming against the current. And by doing that, you cleared a path for others to find the map. Your awakening is simultaneously the awakening of a greater consciousness that, right now, expands through you to touch those who are still groping in the dark. You are a lighthouse that, even without knowing it, illuminates the shore for those crossing the same turbulent waters you've already overcome. Embrace this feeling of belonging to something far larger than your own personal story. Recognize that your struggle wasn't only yours, but a purification process that served a much vaster purpose. When you understand that you are part of a whole, the pain of waiting transforms into the serenity of preparation. The distance that once seemed like a cruel enemy now reveals its true face, that of a sacred space where love and patience were tested and approved. You have proven that your loyalty to what you feel is greater than your need to control time. And it is exactly in this gap between what you desire and what you still wait for that the great transformation happens. There is no more need to run. There is no more need to force open doors that aren't ready to receive your entry. The movement is natural. The progression is guaranteed, and the ending, as you've already begun to sense, is a conclusion that finally brings the peace that surpasses all understanding. Feel the weight of these words that have just been spoken, and let them find rest in the crevices of your soul that still carried doubt. What you felt was not an illusion nor a distraction, but a call that crossed the layers of time to find your heart, wherever it may be hidden. Sometimes, the silence that settles between you and the one you love feels like a barrier, a concrete wall that blocks the flow of what should be natural. But understand, with the clarity of someone who finally sees through the mist, that this silence is actually the foundation of a building being constructed to last an eternity. It is not an absence, it is a preservation. It is the universe protecting what is pure, while you and the other party mature in the exact measure of the purpose entrusted to you. If you allow yourself to observe closely, you will see that every thought that suddenly arises, every memory that blooms without warning, and every dream that feels more real than waking life, are points of light mapping the way back. You are not just waiting, you are being prepared. Consider now the nature of what I call the invisible thread. Imagine a bond not made of matter, but of a substance that resists any geographical distance, any lapse of time, and any external interference. This thread was not stretched by you, nor was it created by them. It exists because of a higher architecture that recognized in both of you the exact frequency to sustain a connection that defies human logic. When the distance seems to increase, the thread only tightens, and it is in that tension that faithfulness is tested. Many times you tried to let go of your end of this cord, trying to return to your life as if nothing had happened. But the gravity of this union always brought you back, and that didn't happen because you are weak, but because you are the guardian of a truth that has not yet fully manifested. This is your sign that acceptance is complete, and that the vigilance, which was once anguish, now becomes a state of peace. Type with the conviction of someone who no longer asks, but affirms their position, and then come back to me, because we still have the final step of this journey of revelation to complete. What you are experiencing is the natural unfolding of being chosen. Don't mistake that for a privilege that brings immediate comfort. Being chosen is, above all, an invitation to detach from your ego. You spent years trying to control outcomes, trying to dictate the rhythm at which things should happen, believing that without your continuous effort, everything would fall apart. But the truth, the one that whispers in your ear in the hours when the house is silent, is that your only real task is to allow. To allow life to flow without your fear, to allow the other person to be who they need to be in their own time, and to allow yourself to become the person capable of sustaining what is coming. When you finally lower your guard and stop fighting the current starts working in your favor. Notice that distance is not an obstacle to union, but a school. It is teaching you the virtue of active waiting, the kind that doesn't despair, but remains in a state of readiness. The one who loves with the soul doesn't need physical proximity to feel the other's presence. They carry the other in every breath, in every decision, in every moment of introspection. And it is precisely because of this ability to stay focused on what is invisible that your harvest will be abundant. Let your like, now, be your wordless amen. Let it not be a click, but the silent seal that everything spoken here found an echo in your inner truth, and that you need no more external confirmation to know you are on the right path. Look around you, mentally, at the people who cross your life. There is someone, maybe someone you haven't seen in a while, or maybe someone beside you now, whose eyes carry a melancholy that no one else notices. Someone who has been working tirelessly, who maintains a strong facade in front of others, but who inside is exhausted from waiting for something that never seems to arrive. A person who holds a secret hope, who feels a call they can't name, and who at this very moment, as you read or hear these words, came to your mind as an urgent intuition. Send this message to that person, not as a suggestion, but as a necessary delivery. They need to know they are not alone in this crossing, that their pain has a name, and that their waiting has a meaning that time will reveal. And finally, so that everything we've discussed becomes the foundation of your next cycle, type in the comments, "I am chosen." Say this not as an external affirmation, but as a declaration of identity that marks the end of the phase of doubt and the beginning of the phase of manifestation. Feel the weight of these words as you write them. Feel how they anchor themselves in your story. You are the person designated to carry this light, to maintain this frequency, and to see the unfolding of the promise that was made to your spirit long before you were conscious of it. You are seen, you are kept, you are joined, you are chosen, you are commissioned, you are sent. Right now, in every corner of this world, other souls are awakening to the same silent truth, forming an invisible network of recognition and hope that sustains the balance of the earth. You are not an exception to destiny. You are the executor of your own purpose. What you carry is not just a feeling. It is an architecture of destiny. The distance, which often seems like an uncrossable ocean, is not the end of the story, but the space where your soul is being shaped to bear the weight of that union. When you stop measuring time by hours and start measuring it by the quality of your readiness, you discover that the other person is also being refined at the exact same frequency. There is no error in God's clock. What you feel as a gap in your chest is actually a place of waiting being filled with a maturity you would not have if you were close. You are being prepared to be someone who does not get lost, someone who does not fragment, someone who recognizes the truth even when physical eyes cannot yet see it. The one who loves with the soul understands that the meeting is not a geographical event, but a convergence of purposes. And what you are living through now, with this intensity that seems to defy the logic of ordinary relationships, is the proof that something was joined on a plane where distance has no power. Now breathe deeply. Let this certainty settle into your bones. The journey of being chosen is not a journey of human effort, but of surrender. You do not need to seek what has already been assigned to your path. You only need to remain on the correct frequency. You are seen, you are kept, you are joined, you are chosen, you are commissioned, you are sent. It is sealed. Attention! You need to prepare yourself now. I have prepared material for those who doubt their own calling from God and still do not have confirmation. Are you one of the chosen? We'll give you that clarity. These are the 7 signs of the language of the calling, marks of God in the story of every chosen one, so you can reread your story and recognize the purpose sealed over you before the foundation of the world. Stop calling coincidence what is actually a calling. Stop silencing the sacred restlessness. Stop postponing the answer you feel. Your window is closing, and a chosen one who does not recognize the calling does not walk in purpose. More than 10,000 people have already read the 7 signs and received the conviction they had been seeking for years. They were just like you. They felt something no one understood. They lived in silent doubt, and they discovered it was real, and it had a name. The offer is open only this month. Access the link in the pinned comment now before doubt steals another year from your calling.